Hello, that moment, UK Crime Book Club, when you are mid-conversation and then the countdown starts, and all of a sudden you have to stop what you're saying.
And smile.
And smile. Can always manage to smile with you in front of me. So, welcome, Penny Batchelor, to the UK Crime Book Club. Thank you for joining us. Tell us a bit about yourself, about My Perfect Sister. Show off your book cover, and let's get on with it. I'm excited to get stuck in.
I'm excited. It's always lovely to chat to you, Sam. Well, here it is. I'm going to put it in front of my face. Normally, I try and put it up on the shelf behind me, but then I have had quite a few
You have a
times.
Sam moment, everything falls off.
Yes, so I'll just do the plug now. My Perfect Sister, and it came out in May last year. When I first got my amazing debut book deal, I was so excited, but of course I didn't know that COVID was going to happen then.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah, dark times really when that came out, and it meant that I didn't get a party at my local bookshop,
Which
Kenilworth.
absolutely sucks.
But this year, my second book, which I haven't, it's not come back from the printer yet, but it's called Her New Best Friend, and that's coming out on the 5th of August. And I'm having a party. So if anybody is in the region of Kenilworth Books between 7 and 8 o'clock.
Oh, you're having it at Kenilworth with the lovely, gorgeous Tamsin.
Yeah, and there's going to be free drink. My next door neighbour's making me a cake, hopefully. So come and join the fun. But I'm not here to talk about that really. I'm here to talk about My Perfect Sister, and it's a special place in my heart because it's my first book. So yes, I'll tell you a bit about it really. So I'll start off with. We were just saying before we went live. What can we say? We don't want to give it away. We don't.
Can't give anything away. It's really hard.
But the premise is that Annie. Our heroine is Annie, and when she was 5, her elder sister Gemma, who was 16 at the time, didn't come back from school and went missing. And despite a huge police investigation, it was never found out what happened to her. So Annie sort of lived her childhood under the spectre of this missing sister, and she feels that how can she live up to the memory of somebody who's not here anymore, who's perfect. That's why it's My Perfect Sister. So Annie leaves school at 16 and gets away from home as soon as she can to get away from all that. And then at the beginning of the book, circumstances come together that she goes home to her mum, and it's the first time she's been back to that house since she was 16. And while she's there, she does start to wonder what did happen to Gemma, but is it safe for her to try and find out? You shall see. Read the book.
It's so good as well.
I'd love to hear all your theories because I've been a few online chats with book clubs, and it's fascinating to hear everybody's views on what they thought was going to happen and what they thought had happened, because so many things I hadn't thought of at all. So brilliant to hear what's going on in other people's imaginations. Fantastic.
And I just slightly touched on what I thought of it. And I can't say any of it, but I will say that you did surprise me. You did surprise me. I'm not easy to surprise.
I can imagine. So, yeah, you read so many crime books. You've just read about every story and every possible motive and things that there must be.
I do. I love it though. When people throw me, I absolutely love it. Because you're right, it does get to a point where it's hard to surprise people who read as much as we do. So yay for you.
Yay.
So how was it being a debut in 2020?
Well, just getting a book deal was completely amazing. I'm published by Red Door, which is a small indie, so there wasn't much money in it, and it's quite difficult to get my books in the big bookshops, and of course when bookshops were closed, people couldn't go and browse. But a lot of indie bookshops, including Kenilworth Books, Fox Lane Books, Harrogate Waterstones, actually, they've been so supportive, and it's been really wonderful to hear back from readers who've enjoyed it. And I can't get over it. Firstly, I can't believe that this story in my head is now a physical product, and it's in the British Library. It's there forever. I can't get my head around it. And yeah, and it's just fantastic to know that I'm bringing another one out too. So yeah, it was quite hard publishing in a pandemic, but I did make some really, really good author friends through a group called the D20s, which stands for Debut 20s, and I think it's D20 or something on Twitter. And there's about 80 of us who debuted in 2020.
Didn't realise there were 80 of you.
Yeah.
It's even
there's
more than I
probably about
thought.
5 core people, but there's 80 odd in the group. And we all just got to know each other because none of us could go and do festivals or book signings and things. And we have a Zoom every week where everyone gets the glass of wine or the beer and catches up. And everybody's so lovely and retweets everybody's successes and helps out with problems with plots and cheers successes on. And we sort of say one for all and all for one, because a win for the D20s is a win for all of us.
Absolutely.
And there have been very successful people in there. So I think that the upside of the pandemic is that I don't think I would have made those author connections if life was just going on as normal. It'd be really interesting to see when my next book comes out. I wasn't meaning to plug it then, honestly, but it just came up in conversation.
You're allowed to plug it. That is the whole point of you being here, Penny. Plug away.
Oh no, I'm not very used to plugging. I actually, it was Indie Bookshop Day. I think it was last Saturday, and I went along to Kenilworth Books, and I sat outside for about 3/4 of an hour at a table with a few of my books, and I so bad. I didn't know whether to go, roll up, come and see my book. And there were people walking past, desperately trying not to make eye contact because they knew if they smiled or something, I'd probably go, come and have a look at my book. And it was really difficult. So I'm not very good at plugging myself. But it will be interesting to see when the new one comes out how sales are affected by the bookshops actually being open, and hopefully being more bookshops, because I've made some really supportive relationships with quite a few bookshops now, and see how it goes really. Oh, and it's available in ebook as well, paperback and ebook.
Excellent. We'll drop some links in at the end so that so it's easy to find when people are watching it back. We have got comments and hellos already. Hi Andrew, we've got Andrew from Nottingham, hoping we're both well, saying hello to us both. Daniel McBreakneck, thank you for tagging Leslie. Hi Leslie and Daniel. Jonathan Peace, who is one of my authors, his debut novel comes out in September, so keep an eye out for that. Evening Audrey, my usual saying hi so I can remember to watch this back in the morning. He's never ever free of an evening, but he always comes back the next day and catches up.
Somebody wants to know what's on your mug, Sam, and how you're feeling.
Oh, I wonder if that's Kaz. So one of my lovely friends, who shall remain nameless because they want to, it says, although the voices aren't real, they've got some pretty good ideas. I got a really lovely parcel from one of my friends with mugs in it for me and my husband, which was a lovely surprise because I get sent books and things all the time, and poor Dave, nothing. But this really lovely friend sent us a parcel with mugs and glasses in, and because they said the parents always get left out, the kids get presents and the parents don't, and the best glass in there says on it, dinner is served. It's like a stemless wine glass that will get used. It's not been so far. Tea today. Kaz loved interviewing you last year. Now I loved watching it, so I've waited ages to get my hands on you. So that's Kaz saying that she's.
Well, we must leave it a year until next time.
Oh no, not leaving it a year next time. Absolutely not. But Kaz does get you next time.
How do you divvy it up then? Because there's a few of you, aren't there?
We just kind of take turns, and then as people request interviews, we just book them in with whoever's the first available person, or the person who's already read the books, just to kind of divvy up the reading a little bit as well. Laura Hamilton, hello. Oh, somebody has asked, do you have a great Twitter relationship with Waterstone's Harrogate? How did that come about? That's a good question. And I can't see who's asked, so I'll have a quick look on my phone.
There's a really nice guy called Kieran who's the manager there, and my parents are actually both from Harrogate, and I've still got some relatives up there. I'm just trying to remember how it first started, but I think I tweeted about my book, and in Harrogate, I think I probably sent them a Twitter message or something saying, this is my relationship with Harrogate. I'm a Yorkshire lass because I was born in Doncaster. Would you like some signed book plates? Would you like me to send you some? And they did. I'm in the Yorkshire section there. Yorkshire fiction, and my first book, My Perfect Sister, is set in Yorkshire as well. And so they were just really supportive and keep tweeting, and hopefully I'm going to do a signing up there as well for anybody who's up north. Just got to organise when that's going to be.
I'll have to bring you to Manchester for a sign and I'll come and help.
Oh, I'd love to. It's years since I've been to Manchester, and I've got a few really good friends, 3 really good friends that live there, so rope them in.
Brilliant. Me and your friends will be the cheerleaders.
Yay!
Somebody has asked, do you help the debut 2021 people? I'm just having a look on my phone just to see who it is that's asking the question.
2021 people. Well. They're always free to come and ask. I think on sort of Twitter, people will ask questions and about how it's gone for us, and we'll ask and give advice. Certainly things people often want to know about social media use and how much you should plug your book, and wanting to know things like, once you finish your first book, how hard is it doing the second one, and things like that. And then I tend to try and retweet other authors' announcements as well, that they've got a book coming out or a launch, book reveal, cover reveal or something, because it's really nice to help other people and build relationships, and then they tend to help you back as well.
We are really lucky. The crime community is just phenomenal. I can't imagine being part of. I'm sure all the others are great as well. All the romance and the sci-fi. I'm sure there's lots of supportive people, but I just don't think there's anywhere in the world that is better than the crime writing community.
Oh, they're fantastic. I just remembered a funny story actually about Twitter, because there was an author that writes romance, and she was saying that she found this chair, a bedroom chair, and it got a secret compartment in. And I said, oh, that's brilliant. Imagine, the knife, the murder weapon is hidden in there. Somebody stored it away and sat on the stool, and the police came round or whatever. And she sort of laughed and she said, oh, all the romance authors had said, oh, love letters, pressed rose from a past relationship. And there's me thinking murder weapons.
Murder weapon. Is that chair big enough for a body?
Yeah. Well, not if it had been cut up, probably, but it hadn't been cut up. But I don't normally get that grisly in my writing.
No, you really not. Do you think you ever would?
I don't. I like to write what I like to read, and I'm not really keen on lots of gore. I think it could happen, but it would be more alluded to rather than written in full gory detail, I think.
So you don't plan on scaring us out of our wits at any point soon?
Did you think that My Perfect Sister was scary? I know a couple of people have said they thought it was, and I didn't think it was. But
I don't think it was scary. I think, it's hard to say. It's hard to say anything without putting my foot in it. I think it really makes you think, and that's where I'm leaving it, because if the next part comes out of my mouth, that's a dead giveaway. So
right.
No, say nothing. Moving on.
So no, it's not going to be scary then. I'm not going to be writing anything particularly scarier than that.
I don't think it's scary. I think what you've done makes you think and really sticks with you. It's really hard. It's hard to talk about it without giving anything away.
I really like reading books where when it's finished, it's not just, well, that's that then. It gets you thinking about, well, what might happen next, and thinking that the characters really stay in your mind. And so I hope that that's what I've done with My Perfect Sister, that they will stay with you, and you will be imagining what happens next, sort of
Do
thing.
you think
Even
you'd
I
ever revisit it?
don't think so. I think that
Oh,
I think that
we might
it's
have to fall out, Penny. I want you to
oh
revisit.
really, but I can see because I really like the character of Ian in the book. He is a solicitor who just happens to have cerebral palsy, and he is an old friend of Annie's. And I think there's a lot more that could be done with that character,
With
getting
him and
him
his wife, there's a lot that could, yeah.
definitely. And so we could have Annie in as a sort of minor character, but have Ian as the main, solving some sort of mysteries kind of crime
My
thing.
mind's racing. I can see already all of the things that he could do because his job and the things that he must be privy to. Oh, that's good. Right, you're gonna have to write that one for book 3. Have you started book 3?
Well, I have. I've started quite a few book threes, and I haven't quite decided which one to stick with. Because my
Okay.
problem is, I'm really good at thinking of a premise, an opening premise, the first few chapters, but then it's sustaining it to 80,000 words that's the difficult bit. And so
Yeah.
I'm not completely hooked with any of them yet. I think they've all got good possibilities for books, but I need to come up with some really good twists, and I haven't got them at the moment. But what I'm planning
They
to
will come
do,
to you. They will.
I work better at night. Actually, I completely do not understand the writers who say I get up at 5 o'clock and I do 3 hours work before breakfast, and then I go
Nope.
for a run. And I think, what? No, I mean, I'm useless until at least about 1 o'clock. I mean, I'm only good for checking emails and doing the most basic tasks, and grunting. So I'm going to do an all-nighter, so I'm quite good at those. Because bless him, he gets sent to the stay in the spare room, and I'm there in the dark. There's no diversions, no phone going, nothing, no telly, no whatever, and I can just really sit and think and get the words down and get into it. Because I do find it sort of magical when things really come together and one idea sparks off another idea, and I think, oh, I think I've got something here. Wow, that's so exciting when that happens. It's
How do
frustrating.
you know? How do you know when that spark? At what point do you know that? Because you said that you started a few book 3s. At what point did you know that the one that you're doing was the one?
Well, I don't know yet on this one. The first book, I actually well, the tale was that I got to 40 and I'd always wanted to be a published author, but I'd done the very simple, stupid mistake of not actually writing very much. I'd start a lot of things, and I looked back, stuff I'd written in my 20s, and then tore it up and put it in the paper recycling because it was just awful. It hadn't got my own voice, and I was
Okay.
sort of writing rom-com kind of things that were very cringy. But I got to 40 and I thought, I really want to take this seriously. This is something a bucket list thing to do. So I joined a Faber Academy writing a novel, the first 6 months course it was. It was an online one. It wasn't cheap, so I thought no, knowing that I paid out for it would mean that I would actually put everything into it and finish it. And I had the idea for my perfect sister there. And so I did about 15,000 words on the course. And it took me a good few years to actually, 2 or 3 years to actually finish it. But with that one, I knew that it could work. The ending changed quite a few times. And as I was
Oh,
writing
really?
it, more characters sort of came up in my head. And then with book 2, I was wondering which one to write for that. But the story that became her new best friend, that was pretty clear in my head as well. It was just, again, the ending changed a few times. I tend to know the beginning and the middle, but not the ending. Characters sort of have to tell me what's going to happen, really. It has to come as I'm writing. I get asked if I'm a plotter or a pantser, and I'm in between. I need to know the premise, the scenario, the sort of blurb that you have on the back, that sort of thing. But the ending tends to change and come to me as I get to know the characters more. and think, because the plot has got to fit the characters rather than the other way around, because I think it's really obvious when writers make characters behave differently just so it fits that nice plot idea that
Yeah.
you've got in the head. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I like all of the ideas I've got for book 3. It's just making it work, really. Put in the, and it's, to do that, it's very old fashioned. It's just, as one of the D20 said, it's just bums on seats. It's just writing, and then hoping that it comes together. And if not, well, nothing's lost. I'll just keep it on my laptop and hope that big spark of inspiration will come up.
One of the things I really enjoyed in My Perfect Sister was the relationships. None of them are easy, although maybe Annie and Pretty. They're best friends. That's a fairly easy, it flows, it works really well for them. But all of the different relationships that you've created within there are just so realistic. You could literally think it's your friend telling you a story. So, are any of them based on a real person, a real situation, or a feeling that you've taken from a relationship, or are they all just complete
Well,
figments of your
it's
imagination?
in my imagination. Pretty, I wrote her as the sort of best friend I'd love to have, sort of thing. She's sort of an amalgamation of different wonderful female friends in my life. And then the rest, no, it's just using my imagination. I mean, Annie, she's somebody that at the start, she's not particularly easy to like. I like writing about women who don't fit the nice, feminine, pleasing everybody kind of norm. She's angsty. She's got a bit of a side to her, and I don't think it's giving it too much away to say that she does change throughout the book.
She absolutely. It's one of those things where I hate to use the phrase, but the journey,
yeah,
it
well,
makes it
just go
sound
on the bus.
cliched when it isn't. It's just such a massive transformation for her.
And then, yeah, I just use my imagination for the other characters. And I must say, I have a lovely relationship with my mum. So the mum in the book is not based. Diana is not my mother. But I just imagined how I would feel in that circumstance when I'd had quite a difficult childhood and I hadn't had all the attention really that I thought I should have had because of these terrible circumstances that had happened. And so I suppose I just put my own thoughts and how I would feel in there.
Somebody has asked, I think it might be Kaz. Let me see. Yeah, it is. What have you read recently that you've enjoyed? So, do you read while you're writing?
I don't. I tend to have much time, and I absolutely love being an author. But one of the downsides is there's just no time to read for pleasure really. And I have a week's holiday book in September, and I can't wait. I'm gonna take loads of books that I really want to read. But I do get to read some books, sort of for work, to give quotes to other authors. What I read recently, Sleepless by Louise Mumford. That's
Yeah.
brilliant. Have you had her on?
Not yet, but we've had a reading from her, and I bought the book based on the reading that she did.
It's brilliant. It's really good. And then I have read The Wild Girls by Phoebe Morgan.
Oh, I like Phoebe.
That's the idea is that there were 4 friends who were inseparable until something happened, although we don't know what, a year ago. And then one of the friends who's moved to New York invites them all to go and stay in Botswana for free for a party. And of course, if someone said, "Do you want to go to Botswana for free?" you'll go, won't you? But so that's the premise. Won't say any more, but it's a really good thriller. And then I had the privilege of reading Catherine Cooper's new book, which isn't out yet. It's called The Chateau, and that is really good.
Okay.
What can I say? What can I say? It's about a couple who moved to France because something happened when they lived in London, and about the people they meet, but they find that they haven't left their problems at home behind them.
That sounds really good. Andrew has asked, how long did it take you to complete the book from first draft to publication?
Well, I started it in 1995 and it was published 2020, and it was finished probably October time, last year. No, the year before, 2019. By the time I'd done all the edits and the things, the rewrite that the publishing company wanted me to do. So good 4 years. But book two, it was a lot less time. That managed to do that in a year. Don't know how long book three will take, but we'll see.
Once you've picked one, maybe it'll just kind of fly out.
I'm not actually contracted for book three, so it feels that there's quite a lot riding on it. So I'm hoping to get an agent and a good book deals. But so does everybody else that writes, really. So I'm gonna have to get there in the scrum and see if I'm successful.
I think it's something that a lot of readers maybe don't think about, the fact that you might get a 1 or 2 book deal and then you're really just trying to almost start from scratch sometimes just to move on to the next one. That must be an intense amount of pressure.
It is, and I found it very much with book two, because there's only, like you said, there's not, with book one you're writing for you really, because it's not, you don't have a deal, whereas with book two, I guess I did feel a bit of imposter syndrome, and was it a one-hit wonder? Well, I'm not saying that it was a hit, and I'm not picking myself up, but
It's a fantastic book. Big yourself up all you want.
Can I pull this out of the bag again? And it was difficult because the publishers want something similar but different. You sort of build up your own personal brand, so they want another psychological thriller sort of around sort of domestic relationships, but obviously not the same. And I've made the structure quite different in book two as well. That's fun to do. So there is pressure, but then that's off for book three because I've not got a contract yet. But hopefully, if there's any agents or publishers around that want to give me lots of money and a nice contract, then do get in touch.
We'll have a chat afterwards.
Yeah.
Andrew wants to know if you're going to be attending Harrogate this year.
Yes, I'm going, but I'm not actually speaking there. I'm just going to meet up with some of the D20s actually, because one of our gang, Trevor Wood, he's up for is it the Theakston's Crime Book of the Year? So he's going to be on the panel on Thursday night, and there's going to be quite a few of us there cheering him on. And we've told him that if he wins, that the drinks are on him, and he agreed.
Absolutely.
So,
foolish man.
Yeah.
Laura Hamilton said The Wild Girls was fab, very twisted.
Very good.
So when you started out with crime, what was the how did you know it was crime you wanted to write?
It was just a story that came into my head. I didn't sort of think, right, I want to be a crime writer. Although I think psychological thrillers is the genre that I read the most. Naturally, when I applied for the Faber course, we had to send the first chapter of a novel, but not the novel that you want to on the course. And mine was a historical fiction based on a novel set in Tudor times that I had thought of, and I've not gone back to it yet. I'd like to at some point. And then the publishers, once you've written something in one genre, they want you to stay with it, and it's a genre I love writing and reading, so I've stayed in it. But I've got loads of ideas and stories plotted up in different genres, like a YA, historical crime thriller, and I challenged myself actually to do a rom-com, a sort of Christmassy themed rom-com, just to see if I could do it, because I was joking with a romance author that I couldn't I just couldn't write one because I'd have to have somebody run over by a bus. I couldn't write a book where there isn't some dun 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 moment. But I managed to get it down in a plot that there is no murder. So you never know, that might see the light of day someday. There's so many ideas, so little time to write.
Hard, isn't it? When constantly writing ideas down, do you have a notebook or something that you go back through, or do you just kind of go straight to your laptop if you've got an idea? Or
I've got it all on the laptop. I've got files for each different idea. And then when I came to book 3, I put down all the different ideas I had and then picked the top few ones to work on. But they're all there, so it's all stored. It's in the cloud just in case I manage to spill water on my laptop like I did last year.
no.
That cost me a lot of money. Water damage.
Ooh, I bet it did.
Stored for it, I find out. So yeah, it's all there. So it's all there to go back to.
Do you have favourite characters from My Perfect Sister?
I do love Pretty because she's the sort of friend that everybody would want. She doesn't judge you. And there's one point that Annie's a bit harsh with her actually, but Pretty knows
Yeah.
she doesn't mean it really, and she just responds with kindness. And she's good fun. She likes going out to the pub, drinking a wine, dancing, and the sort of friend that would always have your back, I think.
And she's very honest as well. She won't let Annie get away with anything.
No, she's a Yorkshire woman, you see. She's a good straight talking.
I do love a good straight talking Yorkshire woman.
Yes, I do too.
I liked Auntie Lena.
She's nice, isn't she? Yeah. She was actually, she's not based on a real person, but I did have a, bless her, she's not with us anymore, but an Auntie Laney, and it was Elaine, and I couldn't say Elaine, so it became, when I was a little kid, so it became Auntie Laney, and she was a good friend of my mum's, and that sort of figure. So another mum figure that's sort of looking out for you, and the characters, it's not her in the book, it's character and the way she looks and everything is different, but she certainly inspired that, because in the book Auntie Lena is a sort of mum figure to Annie, when
Yeah.
she felt that her mum wasn't really playing the part of a good mother.
Well, yeah. And obviously we won't talk about that because we do learn lots about it throughout the story.
We
But
do, and
again,
it's a bit about a sort of theme is, when you're a child, you don't know a lot about what is actually going on, so you only see things through your own eyes. But as an adult, you can actually see your parents as people, not just these authority figures, and maybe understand that they're not perfect, but they tried their best, and sometimes their best wasn't what you thought was good enough. But it's not that they didn't love you, it was just circumstances, really. And that's part of growing up, isn't it? To becoming an adult, being able to see the world in that way.
Becoming aware of it as your own person rather than how it's fed to you.
Yeah.
I want to know who reads your books first. So when
Sorry?
you're done, who gets the first look at what you've written?
All the time it's been my publisher, because I didn't really like to share it with anybody else. My first book, My Perfect Sister, I did share a few bits with a couple of writing buddies, but not the whole thing. Is that I like to hear, because as much as I love them, your friends are going to say nice things because they're your friends, whereas the publisher will, be kind, but also give you good advice on how its strengths and weaknesses. And so I wanted to feel that I was on the right track before showing it to other people, really. And my husband's not ready yet, but he will do.
Will he read it, or is it just not his thing?
No, I think he'll read it, 'cause he doesn't really like reading on a screen. So when I actually get hold of a paperback copy, he'll read it then.
You have to print it out for him.
Well,
So he's got no excuse.
because it's a waste of paper and environmental resources, isn't it?
Buy some, buy some recycled paper.
Yeah.
No, it is. It's not an easy thing to. You want the right people to read it who will give you some constructive feedback rather than people going, "Oh, that was fabulous," and not really having anything to say other than that. Yeah,
But it's
definitely.
also good to hear if somebody thinks, well, I really like that character, but they weren't in it very much, or maybe I don't. You see, with the characters, I don't think they have to be likable, but you've
No.
got to care about what's going to happen to them. Otherwise, you're not going to carry on reading. So maybe you want to see them get the comeuppance, or maybe you want to see them have a journey, so they change throughout the book, or whatever. So, but if you just sort of think, I don't like him, I don't like her, I don't care. I hope she gets bumped off because she's annoying, sort of thing. Then that's not so good. So it's always good to hear from readers what they think about it.
Definitely. Laura wants to know if you'll keep your name for the rom-com or will you use a different pen name like Louise Jensen does with Amelia Henley?
Oh, I didn't even know. What? So Louise Jensen. What genre does she write normally? I can't remember. She thriller.
I can't
I've
think off the top of my
never
head.
heard of Amelia.
This is why I'd be no good at being the interviewee because I'm good at asking questions but actually thinking, no.
Well, that's a really interesting one, and I think it will probably be down to the publisher because they think that marketing wise, if Penny Batchelor, which is actually my maiden surname, um, is connected with thrillers, if I suddenly did write a rom com, then there would be readers saying, hang on, what's this? There's no dead bodies in it. And it would be confusing for them. But there are authors, I think, thinking like Joanne, the woman who wrote Chocolat. She writes.
Joanne, oh, I can picture her and the shed
She
of
writes some really good thrillers, and then she wrote the romance stuff, and she does some YA as well.
yeah,
Okay,
Harris, Joanne Harris.
that's it. So, I mean, I think, well, your name is your sort of reputation, really. It's your brand. And one of the D20s, actually, she's got a book out as Kirsten Hesketh, but then she got commissioned to write a saga, and they said, call yourself Poppy Alexander. Again, it's that sort of a name to sort of suit the genre thing. So I would find it really confusing. Who am I today? It's already confusing enough that Batchelor is my maiden name, and so I think, well, what's my surname today? What am I? But I kept it under Batchelor because I've been doing freelance journalism before I got married, so a small amount of people actually knew me. So I wanted to keep that name, and
Yeah.
also been wanting to be a writer since I could write, really, learn to write, and so I thought it was quite right that I kept my published under my maiden name. But we'll see. We'll see. You never know. I might be I don't know what do you reckon I should call myself if I do write a romance. Then
I think for ease of book signings, you should still keep Penny
yeah.
because then you can always sign everything Penny and you'll never get it wrong.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
But surnames, it's a tricky one. It is a really tricky one. We'll have to have a think. Maybe you could have a competition.
Well, if anybody wants to put in the chat box what they think I should call myself for a
See, I've got so many crime authors in my head now that the only other one I can think of is Cecilia Ahern.
yeah. It's that romance authors tend to have sort of fluffier names, don't they?
Yeah.
Prettier, girlier names. And a lot of crime writers, they just put their initials, not their first name. So people don't know. People don't pigeonhole them as a women author or a male author or whatever.
I've got to admit, I've gone for Sam rather than Samantha on things that I've done. Just because, for that reason, could be a man, could be a woman, could be neither. Could be anyone.
I'm actually
Leslie Lloyd says Penny Lacey would be a good name.
Penny Lacey.
I like that.
I thought you were going to say that. Does sound good, doesn't it? I thought you were going to
It
say
does
Penny
sound good.
My name is actually Penelope, so maybe I could have Penelope Lacey.
Oh, see, now that's got a nice ring to it.
Yeah, it just sounds quite good, doesn't it? Although it just sounds posh. But,
You are a bit posh.
are you think I'm posh? I can't believe you think I'm posh. I'm from South Yorkshire.
You can be posh and from South Yorkshire. Fine. Andrew wants to know, he said, you mentioned editing. Is that the same as proofreading? There's so many different stages to everything, aren't there?
Well, what happens though is you give your manuscript to the publisher. Bigger publishing companies will have a separate editor and publisher, but my publisher does both. And then she reads it and she will say, well, I really like this bit, but that storyline I think doesn't need to be there. And if you bump up this other storyline, and I really like that character, so let's have more of that character. Or I want you to change the ending because it needs more oomph, or I want a bit of drama or something. So I go away and then have some few goes at doing that, and then get her feedback. And then once that's all sorted, it goes to a proofreader who does it for grammar and spelling and checking that you've called people the right names and the continuity's right and all things like that. And then it goes back and forth a few times between you and the proofreader. So at first they've probably got questions like, well, you've called, she's saying this to Sam, but should it be to Tom instead? Something like that. And is this time scale right? It says it happened in a week. Is that too soon, or what do you think? So you answer all these questions, and then it goes back, and then you check what they proofread and see if you can find any typos and things. And inevitably you do, just because just things go wrong in translation and what have you. And then you give it the final sign off. Oh, I had one with a friend from university, when he read My Perfect Sister, the first thing he did was email me and say, typo on page, whatever. I said, I'll pass it on for when it's get it sorted. But then he did add that he really liked it, but the typo was the first thing he pointed out.
Yeah, that is the first thing that people point out. Get the bad out of the way first, or the corrections, and then following with all the good stuff. So you're leaving people on a high.
Yes.
Which is nice. You must have had some really lovely reviews for the book as well, and maybe even received photographs of people reading it in different places.
No, I've never had any photographs. I've had some really nice reviews,
You have to
but
remedy
nobody's
that.
ever sent me a photograph of them reading it. So I'm on Twitter at Penny _author, and on Facebook I'm at Penny Author. So if you want to be the first, post a picture of you reading the book. That'd be great.
It's on my Kindle, but yeah, I'm sure I can manage that.
That counts, holding your Kindle up.
It does have to get somebody else to take the picture. I think on Facebook you're Penny Batchelor author.
Yes, I am, but it's actually, if you sort of type in, it's facebook.co.uk/Penny Author, and then it sort of redirects and it says Penny Batchelor Author.
I just remember tagging you in something. We have still got more questions, and we've only got 15 minutes left. Absolutely flying. So when you did the Faber course, what year was that?
1990. Oh, I'm showing my age. 2015. Why did I say?
You did say 1995 before, and I thought, I'm sure that's not right. But what made you go for a course first? What was what prompted that? Had you tried writing before that and just felt that you needed a bit more guidance, or?
I tried writing, and I always thought I'd come up with a load of rubbish. I wanted the structure of a course that was going to make me do a bit each week. And I wanted the Faber course got really good reputation, and I heard of quite a few people who got published after doing the course. But I was lacking in confidence, and I wasn't even sure I got on the course, because they don't take everybody that wants to be on it. You actually have to send in some work, and choose you, to think that you're the standard that will benefit from the course. So I was thrilled that I even got on it. So I just felt, I mean, it was brilliant. They say it's like an MA without the academic stuff. So a lot of practical information, like how to set out your page in Word, and how to write blurbs, and how to query with agents and things like that. And some really, really good writing exercises that I still use now. Just things like how do you work out whether you're going to write in the first person or the third person. Really, really helpful stuff. And yeah, I wanted that sort of, can I say, keep up the bum sort of thing, to make sure that I would actually stick to it and do it, and not procrastinate and put it off. And then, because I knew I'd really regret it. When I started the course, I thought, I want to finish a book. It would be absolutely amazing if it got published, but I would feel that I'd achieved something on a bucket list by actually completing a book, because that's a big thing, to actually write 70 odd thousand words. It's hard.
Huge. Yeah. What did you learn from writing My Perfect Sister that either surprised you or has helped you with moving on to the next book?
Oh, that's a good question. Just to keep going, really. There are times when you get to around 40,000 words that it can feel that you're in the middle and you're not quite sure where you're going, and it's hard to keep the pace going, keep people interested. But then you can't have it. I guess I learned that you can't have action, action, action all the time. You need some downtime and to focus on the characters as well as things happening in the book. And I also learned about things like what do they call it? At the end of chapters, when cliffhangers. That
Cliffhanger.
I kept seeing Batman hanging off a cliff in my head. And just ways to try and keep people interested, like short chapters, and but also adding in little touches that make you feel that you are there with the action.
Do you have any writing rituals? So we had Peter James on a few weeks ago, and he
Wow.
was saying that 6
Yeah.
o'clock every night he sits down with a martini, a vodka martini, and starts writing. And I thought, well, there's a reason to be a writer.
Well,
6 o'clock
exactly. Taken
martini.
and not stirred.
I know it had olives in it, or did it?
Did you sit
I
there
don't
and
know.
it's took? I don't really, other than next to me on my side table, I always have some chocolate for when I need that sugar boost, and some
When you're flagging a
water.
bit, yeah.
Yeah, lip balm. Um, and I'm quite good at actually thinking, oh, I'll just go and check my email. Oh, I'll just go and look at Twitter.
Oh, that
And so
washing up needs
quite
doing.
good. Yeah. Oh, it's off my tea. So I need to really force myself to not keep doing that. But the brilliant thing is when I'm really in the zone, when I really feel all those ideas come in, it just all comes out, and I want to just stay and keep writing and writing and writing to get everything out that's in my head. But of course, it's normally just as I'm sort of laying down for bed, just starting to drift off. That's when all the ideas come. When I'm just, my brain is just sort of in between consciousness and unconsciousness. It just seems to spark and then come up with all these funny ideas, and I've got to try and remember them or write them down. So I don't forget.
Funny thing is, I text myself. Well, not text. I put a messenger myself things, but I never go back and look at them. But I know that they're there if I ever need to.
Yeah.
I was interviewing Peter Boone, who does write YA crime, and he said he just gets in bed at night and he's just typing away on his phone, and I just think that'd keep me awake. I don't
Yeah.
think I could get in bed and then start work.
No.
By the time I drag myself to bed, 30 seconds and I'm asleep.
Mm.
Keeps yeah. I couldn't stay awake to do it, definitely not. And I don't fancy 5 o'clock in the morning either. No wonder I'm not writing much.
Get up early so you can get 2 hours in before everybody else goes. How do I know?
Yeah, my husband likes to, be up and about before everybody else, but no, I do not.
As long as he makes
Um,
a tea in bed, though, you can do that with pleasure.
I'm missing a trick, aren't I? I should be asking him to bring me a brew.
Yeah.
Andrew wants to know if your
Toast as
books
well,
are
lovely.
available on audio.
No, not at the moment. My publisher is trying to sell the rights to a company, and actually really love to narrate it myself because Annie is from Yorkshire and I've got a Yorkshire accent, and I would love to do it myself. But that takes money, doesn't it? But hopefully it will get picked up soon by a company and there will be an audio version because quite a few people have asked for it actually. They're very popular at the moment, aren't they? With books, they're really gaining in popularity.
So tell us a bit about book 2. So we know what we're waiting for on August the 5th.
Right, her new best friend is a
I'm so
story.
excited to read it.
It's about Audrey, and Audrey's in her mid-30s. She's got 2 children, and she's had quite a difficult journey to road to having them. And then one day she's in the park, a 5-year-old runs off to chase a bird. So Audrey goes after her and then turns round and realises that she didn't put the brakes on the pram, and the pram rolls down into the pond in the park. But fortunately, there's a woman. This all happens in the first chapter, so I'm not really giving anything away. There's a woman, a stranger called Claire, who goes and saves the day, and the two become friends. But what does Audrey really know about Claire? Does she have some sort of agenda? And how well do you actually know your new best friend? And what would you do if the mother's nightmare, worst nightmare, actually came true?
It's a very, very creepy premise.
It is quite well. It's sort of in the same vein as My Perfect Sister. Lots of twists and turns, sort of creepy bits, but it's not a slasher horror book or anything like that. Yeah, I really like exploring characters who would do things that I might think of doing, but I would never do, and what their motivation is behind it, and how somebody can be a really nice person, but just make a decision at some point which sets them off on a different path. And there's a
Is
lot
that
of what would I do if I was in that sort of situation going on.
it's that
So it's
whole what if, isn't it?
yeah, motherhood and friendship and relationships and things that go bump in the night.
Laura Hamilton says she's had a mooch, and now I'm intrigued to know where Laura Hamilton is from because mooch is very much a word that a Mancunian lass like myself would use.
I would use mooch as well.
Would you?
Yeah.
Interesting. She said she's actually read 3 of the D20s so far. Charlotte Levin, Matson Taylor, and Catherine Cooper, all fab. Penny and Trevor will be 4 and 5. So there you go. You've already sold a book.
Thank you. Well, Charlotte, I've read. It's brilliant.
I've got
She's
it somewhere.
exploring women who don't fit the feminine mold. I love that book. I've got Matson's. I was very lucky that he sent me an autograph copy, and I sent him
Lovely.
one of mine. So I've not read it yet. That's going to be my holiday reading, I think. And then Catherine Cooper's. Yes, I've read a second one, and I've got a first to read.
I'm
And
just
I've got
looking because I've got all of them. I just don't know where I've put them. My office is having a bit of a move around, so I try and rotate the books on the top shelf, but I read so much on my Kindle, it's a difficult balance.
Well, I think you made some great choices, Laura, and thanks so much for picking me to read as well. I really appreciate it. And
So
I'll
we've only
tell
got
Trevor
5.
as well, and that if he wins, he's got to buy you a drink as well for buying it.
It's going to get a long list, Trevor. I'll get your wallet out. So we've only got 4 minutes left now. Oh, Laura's Northern Irish. Matson's is a funny, uplifting one. Good if you need perking up. Okay. So a bit of a different genre. I like the idea of that. Northern Ireland. Okay, mooch is more of a well-known word than I thought it was.
You learn something new every day.
You really do. We've now got 3 minutes left. Do you want to give everyone a reminder of My Perfect Sister and tell us where to buy it and if we can buy signed copies from you?
Right, okay. Well, the best place to look is my website. I've had it redone and I'm really pleased with it. www.pennybatchelor.co.uk. It's got links to all the different places to buy the audiobook. Sorry, I meant ebook and
Ebook.
the paperback. You can buy signed copies from Kenilworth Books. That's the place to go if you want me to write in a personalised dedication. And Fox Lane Books has got signed copies of My Perfect Sister and Her New Best Friend with a book plate. Kenilworth Books also sells my next book with you can get your personalised dedication. So good for
Lovely.
birthday, Christmas presents. So yes, I think I've already told you my Facebook and my Twitter accounts. I'm also on Instagram, Penny Batchelor Author. But I'm not a very good photographer, so I don't tend to post as much on there. But it's still really good to interact with people because Bookstagram is a really lovely place to be. And thank you so much for having me, Sam. It's
Thank
really
you so
enjoyed
much for
talking to
joining
you.
us.
And thank you to everybody for supporting me. It really did make a difference last year when I came on the UK Crime Book Club and
Oh, that's lovely to
Kaz
hear.
interviewed me. It's a way of just letting people know about my book and interacting with people, really.
And it has been really lovely that during such a horrible period of our lives, nobody's having a really nice time of it, but there has been some really lovely support for authors.
There has. I think people have really realised that it hit authors really badly last year because we're self-employed.
Mm,
And although a lot more books were sold, it tended to be ones on Amazon, which are the big sellers, the big names. So celebrities and people did better, and people starting out did worse because their books weren't known about to buy, really. So people's support has been brilliant, and I thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart for buying my book or reading it or just telling other people about it and welcoming me as part of the crime and thriller community. Thank you.
it's been a fantastic hour. Thank you so much, Penny, for joining me. Finally got you all to myself. Kaz doesn't get to have all the fun. We've got some comments to finish with. Leslie Lloyd, thanks both, very interesting. Andrew, thanks for a great hour, Sam and Penny.
Thank you.
And Rachel Sargent, lovely chat. Thank you both. Thank you to everybody for watching and to you, gorgeous Penny, for joining me.